Welcome to the Epic Vision Zone. I'm so excited to introduce today's guest, a fellow Canadian and world traveler. He is a man who believes the world needs the heart voice and energy of the divine feminine now more than ever. He has been exploring, discovering, and teaching skills that make us better communicators, educators, and business strategists for over 3 decades. He is the CEO and founder of A New Way of Being. With 37 years of experience as a curriculum developer, content creator, and communications and marketing strategist, he has created innovative and lucrative outcomes for clients in Canada, the US, and Asia. His why first came to him when he was in Japan, living there in the 1980s. He wanted to communicate, to connect with people, to build a bridge and a bond from which friendships and business relations based on trust would be born. He discovered that messaging is key. Audience must feel heard, and the presenter must be adept at communicating their uniqueness. This is the business building, communication, and connection puzzle that he loves to help clients decipher, develop, and drive into action. Over the years, using his renowned strategies of clarity and big picture solutions, he has enriched clients' communication skills and business expansion. He believes as we embrace our uniqueness and align our messaging with mindset, we can raise our own unique inner glass ceiling and step confidently into monetizing our knowledge and our gifts. Through his career, he has coached a roster of entrepreneurial women, helping them to own their feminine messaging, mindset, and monetization superpowers. Perhaps more than ever, he says our global community is now calling for the healing energy of the divine feminine. And as a man with 38 years experience connected to work with monks in temples in Asia, he feels called to help build bridges between who we are and who we are becoming. Welcome, David Gross. Nice to have you.
Thank you, Jane. I am so excited to be here. I'm honored that you've asked me to be a part of this summit, and I really can't wait to see where our conversation goes because I know it's going to be good.
Well, I am so excited to have you and so interested in your concept of communication and feminine divine, but I did want to ask you one question to start, and that is, tell us why you are so passionate about working with women.
Let me think about that. And here's one thing for this interview, and always when I'm working with individuals, I want to make sure that what I'm saying is exactly what I mean, because you know how sometimes it's kind of easy to come up with the head talk, and I want to come from the heart space of this is exactly what I mean. So in answer to that question, as you mentioned in the intro, I lived in Japan most of my 20s, from 22, 23 until I was 30. And I recognized, although I was teaching communication at an international business level, I realized that the biggest challenge for the women I was working with was that they couldn't communicate the depths of who they were, which was coming from heart space. And therefore, as I transitioned into working with more entrepreneurs on a global scale, what I've discovered, actually it's not a discovery, what I've realized, that's the better word, what I realized is, and actually it's a realization that has been a long time in coming, we've had echoes of it long ago. The energy of women now and the sacred feminine, divine feminine now, perhaps more so than ever on the planet, we are being called to heal our communities, to heal our families, to heal on a global scale. And it is, to me, the divine feminine through which that healing shall come. And what I've discovered, amazingly to me, is it's actually not that amazing as much as exciting, and I don't want to use that word again and again and again, but the energy is so high for me. Women have the opportunity now to support other women in developing their businesses, in communicating from their hearts, in building a life of their dreams, truly. And I truly believe that the teaching, the lessons, the life lessons, the wisdom that women already have is waiting to be shared with other women who are seeking that from others. And for me, if I go back, you mentioned me being my work in the temples with many, many monks for many years, 37 or 8 years now. We hold, if you think about the Dalai Lama, we hold the energy of compassion. Dalai Lama is the best example ever. He holds the energy of compassion. Actually, many people might not know that the Dalai Lama is actually the reincarnation of, best way I can put, I'm trying to think in English to see how I can put this here. The Dalai Lama is the reincarnation of the Buddha of compassion. And we see him as the Dalai Lama. We know him as the Dalai Lama, but we oftentimes don't reflect on the fact that he is, in the Tibetan culture, a reflection of and reincarnation of the Buddha of compassion. So with the work in the monks, or with the monks in the temples, we actively practice holding the vibration of the sacred masculine in support of the divine feminine. So if we look at it from a global perspective right now, there is so much being birthed on the planet by women now, for women and for the healing of all on the planet. So when we in the temples can hold the sacred masculine energy in support of the divine feminine for all that the divine feminine is birthing, and for everyone in this summit, we are birthing opportunities. When we can hold the energy of support for all that the sacred feminine and the women in this summit and the women of influence who are being interviewed by you, when we can hold the energy of support for them, that is where my heart is called. It's almost that simple, although it took me a long time to get there.
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I didn't realize that that's the meaning of the Dalai Lama. So
yes,
that really is a beautiful story. I love it. I'm so glad that you shared it with us. And so now I'm pleased to share this special communication from David, who wishes to impart a piece of work to show the value of connecting through authentic and heartfelt communication. Here is a composition that was born from working with a group of entrepreneurial women.
Here's the momentum magnet for now and for this week. First statement. I trust so deeply that all I am and all I be is enough. And all I am and all I be, when I communicate from my heart and I connect with the deeper truths of what calls me along this path now, I trust that when I communicate from this deep state of my being, those who are in alignment with where I am shall see me, shall hear me, shall connect with me, and shall felt seen by me, heard by me, and connected with me. And therefore, the energy that I hold this week is not at all in the direction of anything I need to do, but purely in the direction of all I get to be. And the energy of my being, as I step along this path, is one which embraces my inner knowing that I am enough. I have everything I need to share with everyone who is in alignment with me and who shall value not only what I'm creating, but whose lives will be touched by what I share. So this week, transitioning into the next, there is nothing I need do. I simply allow myself to be. And as I be, feeling the fullest of my connection to all that is, I am open to receiving the insights and the guidance and the answers that are already there for me. And as I do so, my second level of trust not only in all that is and God source energy in full connection with me, but I also trust that those who shall benefit the most from the gifts I come to this planet with, I trust that I can help them because I know that I am enough. I trust they will hear me. I trust they will feel connection with me, heard by me, seen by me. And in that trusting, I am feeling the flow of energy between me and them. Me and them. Knowing that the energy that I connect with them is a reflection of the perfection of my connection to all that is. So in essence, as we have shared and stated before, my being is for them to see. So in a seeing is believing world, my being, fully connected with God source energy, brings to them the opportunity for them to see in me the light which resides deep within them. And even for those whose light of self-worth and recognition is but a flicker in the embers that reside in the heart, I trust that my work and my connection with them shall fan the flames within them that cause their light to shine brighter. And I know to the core of my being that this is my work. I know to the core of my being that this is my purpose. I know to the core of my being that this is my path. And so this week, I'm not going to force a path forward. I'm not even going to look for the path forward, because the path within is already known to me. So as I be this week, stepping forward, stepping forth, stepping up into the evolution and expansion of all that I am, connected to all that is, I am living in trust, knowing that I am enough.
Thank you, David. Oh, that was so beautiful. And
pleasure.
I wanted to let everyone know that the file will be available on David's website for anyone to download and share. So please check out his bio and go there and find the link and save it for yourself and share with your friends and family. And David, can you give us some background now and context into what we just saw?
Yes, this was an audio file that I created during one of my mastermind sessions. So I was working with a large group of women, and they were feeling the pressure to produce and create content and do the work of building their business. And so, and this is why when you listen to it again, if you listen to it again, the very first sentence seems kind of rushed, actually seems quite rushed, because I just had this insight. It's like, oh, I need to say something here. And it just kind of, just like I could feel the pressure building. And so the first is like, okay, here it is, boom. And then I can sink down into the energy of it. So this was an audio file. It's only maybe 5.5, 6 minutes or so maximum of me speaking. And I put music to it because this was a way in which I could support the women in our mastermind to calm the energies that were pinching them off from their heart space, pinching them off from their creativity, pinching them off because they thought they were distracted and kind of sabotaging their work with unanswered questions, right? How do I do this? And where do I go with this? And what do I do first? And how do I get there?
I've been there. I get there. I know the feeling.
So to me, this audio, and it was a to me and through me kind of experience. It's like, okay, here we are. an hour into the mastermind, and I was just listening to some of the conversations about people or the women mentioning, hey, I'm feeling kind of stressed this week about all the things that I might think that I have to do. So I said, okay, it's coming down the pipe. Just sit back and relax for 5 or 6 minutes, and I will guide you through. And actually, when I say I will guide you through this, it's kind of like a meditation. This is an absolute reflection of the work that I've been doing for 38 years in the temples.
It's beautiful. I mean, I can really see how that could calm anyone, really, because we often function in overwhelm, and especially entrepreneurs or those who own their own business, or really, frankly, anyone, especially, you know, if you've got a career and you're thinking of changing, or your family life. I mean, there's always things in life that challenge us, but I think it always serves us to take a breath. And when we have something like this beautiful piece of, I call it meditation, you know, it can help center us again and bring us back to who we are.
It's a reminder too that we don't have to necessarily learn more or figure out more, you know, more stuff, get more education, you know, improve our expertise, or through our experience, we are enough where we are right now. We have everything that we need. And the challenge is not to get more, it's just to really fine tune the messaging so we can communicate from that perspective.
Right. And that kind of, you touched a little bit on the title, which you said, I am enough. So maybe unpack that a little bit for us.
So this, if I just reflect on how this was created, this audio, and how it kind of came to be, because the women were questioning themselves, and the questions they were asking themselves were a reflection not of their value, not of their worth, not of the beautiful women they are and the gifts that they already have. They were questioning an absence of gift or a need for more. And therefore this I Am Enough title, to me, fit that time so perfectly, because for the next week, I said to them, there is nothing you need to do. All there is to do is simply to be, which means if we are in our state of being, and I'm not asking everybody to come and join me in the temple, it's not that, but the state of being is a state of knowing. It's a state of connecting with our higher selves, so that we actually, in the absence of all evidence, we live in trust that we are enough. And that's why that title seems so appropriate at that time.
Right. And it's something that many of us are guilty of, but particularly women, because we always feel, and some of it does go to worthiness, but you're right. I mean, I can definitely see how you say it's enough in the knowing. I really love that. So how does the concept of I Am Enough support your work with women entrepreneurs?
I love this question. I can't be so bold as to say every woman that I've worked with, but I have worked with women in 7 different countries on the ground, now virtually in a number of other countries. And I can actually say that it pains me to see how easily it is for many women to give away their gifts. And what I mean by that is, be they coaches or mentors or guides of any sort, it is so, now I got to make a different statement. It has appeared to me for many women to be very easy to give away their gifts, to give away what they know. And the crazy thing is, it's multi-layer. And I love this aspect here. On the surface, and I've been there too. I've done that as a teacher for 38 years. I've done this, where on the surface, we might be pretty good at convincing ourselves that we're giving it away because we want to help, which we do, because we are compassionate beings. We want to help, right? I'm a teacher at the core of my being. I was speaking yesterday with I call her my kind of soul sister. She is not she is a soul sister. There's no question. Kind of like a twin sort of way. And she is also an educator. She's had an academy for 20 odd years or more. And we were talking about how easy it is to feel that we are being in service by helping others, which is absolutely correct.
Mm-hmm.
But that as business women, or as a businesswoman and the women she works with, there was a tendency to give a lot away. And on the surface, it was perhaps the belief that I'm serving them, I can serve them, I need to serve them.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe in some ways I need to prove to some people, whoever they may be, that I'm worthy. So
Mm-hmm.
if I need to prove to you I'm worthy, and I will give it to you for free to prove to you that I'm worthy, right?
Right.
The deeper truth.
That's inner work.
Oh, the deeper truth that whacks us upside the head even more is the fact that sometimes when we're doing that, we're doing it because we really need to prove to ourselves that we have self-worth,
Mm-hmm.
that we are worthy.
Mm-hmm.
So when we recognize that we are enough, we don't need to prove to anyone our worth.
Mm-hmm.
That recognition alone, and I use this term, I use the words vibrational and things like that a lot, because
Mm-hmm.
it's what we do in the temples.
Sure.
So there's a vibrational shift in our energy when our heart space knows that we are enough, and we kind of distance the chatter in the monkey mind or in the head that
Mm-hmm.
tells us that we're not.
Right. And you said that it ensures women are not taking action from the energy of limiting beliefs,
Yes.
which I think is very profound.
And if you link back into the video where there's nothing we need to do, there is all we get to be,
Mm-hmm.
that shifts our energy dramatically, because when we are in the energy of doing,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes actually doing, yes, for business, we do need to take action, but sometimes the doing is also woven in there subtly, is proving something.
Oh, okay.
But yet when we be, there's nothing to prove to anyone.
Mm-hmm. Right. You're absolutely right.
Mm.
Oh, that was beautiful. I really know that that's something that women can relate to, and certainly have been guilty of. Maybe not every woman, but many of them.
Well, and I haven't said this, I haven't mentioned this earlier, but one of the reasons why this is, I get really emotional when I talk about this. One of the reasons why this is so important to me is because of my mom. I was gifted a birth mother. And when I moved to Japan when I was 18, for a short period of time, and then I came back and finished university and went back to Japan when I was 23, I was gifted a homestay mom who adopted me, as it were, right? She took care of me. Both of my moms are entrepreneurial women.
Oh, wonderful. My
moms have created opportunities to touch people's lives that I have witnessed firsthand. Actually, there's no such phrase, but I want to say first heart, like it's in my heart, right?
Right.
They taught me by example what it means to be on this planet for a purpose, pardon me, and to touch other people's lives. So this is why this is so important to me, because I have been raised by two women. All of my life, I have been surrounded by women whose passion is to help others. And they've taken it in entrepreneurial streams, and I have seen them, though, at times working with others who are questioning themselves. And that's beautiful. This is what drives me.
Yeah, we really do live by example. I mean, and that you are so fortunate to have had that, because that obviously it's resonated, and here you are continuing with that compassion and with that assistance of women, or just helping others lift themselves. Beautiful. So there's a statement in your video: the energy I hold this week is not at all in the direction of anything I need to do, but purely in the direction of all I get to be. So I think you expanded on that a little bit, but maybe unpack that a little bit more for us, because I know it has to do with the mindset and the heart set.
It does exactly that, yes. So the all I get to do, for example, if we were, this is interesting, I'm going to put it in an interesting context here. If we were to plan out our day and think about or contemplate or put our energy into planning out all we have to do, we could certainly make lists that could be checked off, things that can be done, things that are checked off or crossed off. My mom was actually really good at making lists and checking things off. When we are in the all we have to do energy, our mind, no, let me change that. Our focus shifts from the energetic connection to what we're doing to just getting it done sometimes.
Yes.
And the all we get to be component, if we were to kind of look at a mix, kind of like a mixing board where there's a balance of tones, it means that, okay, all I get to do means all I'm doing and the actions I'm taking take priority. And who I be is still who I am. However, it's not in the headlights, as it were, right? It's kind of in the background. So the difference between them is all I get to be means I raise my vibration, which is my focus of the energy of my being, which is my compassion, which is why I do what I do. For me, I have besides working with women, which is so important to me, I melt when I see little kids in the world who don't have a life or opportunity to laugh and to play. So in addition to helping women, and many of the women that I'm working with, we're also helping kids. So when I, for example, have a long list of things that I have to do, and I'm slogging through all the things I have to do, that becomes hard work, right? It makes sense that it would be a little bit of hard work. When I reflect, even momentarily, and I have pictures on my screensaver sometimes, I use pictures of the kids that I've connected with. When I see the sparkle in their eyes, I see their smiles, I see them playing, my why immediately comes to the surface. And then all I have to do, actually there's nothing I have to do because I just be in the energy of creation and it comes together.
Right. So you strike up a balance, but I like what you said, because my question was going to be, how do you get into that vibrational foundation, which is how you put it. And for you, it's the idea of your screensaver or a video or even a picture, or, you know, if you had something scent wise that reminded you, something that brings you back to ground you, to make you remember why you're doing it.
And it has, for me personally, it is more impactful when I have an image than just a word.
And I think for most that's the case, because our visual cortex is the instrument that is most powerful in recognition with our brain. It is the most powerful. I mean, scent is very powerful as well. But I could certainly see that why a picture or an image would be the most powerful. But yes, so get into our heart space when we're too much in our head space. Remember that there is that room for both. Yes.
So we can be proactive, which means, for example, when I sit down to do audio or video editing, for example, or I'm working on a project, I'm hoping that what I'm trying to explain will come across clearly. So when I'm sitting down to do a project or setting up to do a project, if I come into the project thinking from the headspace of all I have to do, I have my lists and I have my checklists and I've got everything to set up on the multiple monitors around and all of that, right? And then I can get to work. Absolutely, I can do the work. However, if doesn't take long, 30 seconds to a minute even, to just breathe slowly and connect with the energy of those I'm helping or those I've worked with, and be it the women or the children. When I connect with that energy and then step into doing the work, I'm different.
Yeah.
I'm coming with a different energy into a project, into the work, because I'm holding myself. Maybe this is an interesting way of putting it. I'm holding myself in connection with my higher self.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's perfect. It's beautiful. I don't want to even say anything. We're going to put it as a takeaway. Does this in any way reflect your connection to the work you mentioned with your monks? And I have a big feeling that it does.
Everything to do with that. So I was gifted when I was 18 was when I really, I was in Japan when I was 18, and I was introduced to a number of different monks and those in higher positions of influence or authority.
Mm-hmm.
And they saw something in me that I wasn't really aware of. You know what it's like if you're working with an individual. So if a woman is working with a younger woman, and the older woman doesn't have to be age necessarily, but the older woman in this example is working with a younger woman and sees within this younger woman potential
Mm-hmm.
that this younger woman doesn't see within herself. It then becomes the opportunity for the older woman to help that younger woman become aware of her gifts. So in this case, when I was working with the monks, they saw something in me that I didn't see within myself.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the key words that I can use to reflect on my experience was they taught me to be unconditional.
Mm.
So the alignment that I was feeling, the connection that was in my heart, the compassion that my heart was just beating with compassion to help. They taught me to be unconditional. So I didn't need to be in any particular place, doing any particular action for any particular goal, because those were conditions. And if those conditions weren't met by me,
Mm-hmm.
then I might take myself out of alignment.
Mm.
And alignment for me is the energy of compassion, the energy of connection.
Mm. Okay.
So that opportunity to learn what it means to be unconditional is actually a reflection of me and my higher self, where any conditions around me do not, kind of like the Popeye punching bags, if you, because I'm
Mm-hmm.
almost 60, so I remember those from the 60s, right?
Yeah.
The Popeye punching bag, you knock it down, it comes back into alignment, right? Okay,
Right.
it comes back up, okay. So I use that analogy a lot. So imagine, for example, if we hold on to conditions that we believe must be in place in order for us to feel happy, in order for us to feel our passion, to allow our passion to flow. If those conditions bubble up on the surface or rage in front of us, we tend to shrink in the face of those. So the experience and the lesson to become unconditional or to be unconditional means that nothing around us or me, through what I was being taught,
Mm-hmm.
I would not allow that. No, that's not the best language of putting it. It would not have an effect on me. It would not have an influence or impact on me because I was able to maintain my connection no matter what was going around me. Again, it's not easy in our reality right now. It's not easy to not be affected by what's around us.
Right.
But being able to hold on to our connection with our higher selves allows us to be unconditional.
Yes, absolutely. And I could see that
Mm.
in everything, not just in,
Yes.
like you say, in being happy, but it could be in what your version of success is,
Mm-hmm.
of what your version of a fulfilled life is, or abundance. So really that thinking serves us through life in everything.
It does. And if we think, for example, here's an example of us being conditional. I'm going to put it into context for us, especially on this summit with women who are doing amazing work on the planet. For some of us, the conditions show up as the evidence that we are seeking as the confirmation of our work.
Mm.
So in the absence of the evidence,
Mm-hmm.
that becomes a condition that might cause us to question ourselves. Am I good enough? Because we don't have, perhaps right now, in the headlights, as it were, right there in front of us, the evidence that can prove to us our own worth.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's perfect. I love it.
I don't mean to bring all this into monk culture for you at all, but
no. I and women for the most part understand the concept of energy and vibration and connection. I mean, and if they don't, they're at least open to exploring it, because it is it's not so woo-woo as they put it in, as it used to be, because now we have the science that has proved so much of what the ancients have known for eons.
Yes.
And so but the way you put it is so eloquent, and it just makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we need to know about the concept then, speaking of energy,
Mm-hmm.
and how it affects us as business women?
Okay, I'm going to just imagine, actually it's right there over on the other side of the room. Imagine a piano keyboard in front of you.
Okay.
So I've got my mom's grand piano here, which is the most amazing thing ever. So imagine a piano keyboard. And on that keyboard, if you're aware of music, there's a note called middle C. And middle C is the note from which every note going down to the left,
Mm-hmm.
if we're playing the piano, is lower in vibration. We might call it deeper, we might call it darker, we definitely know it's a lower vibration.
Mm-hmm.
Think also the movies, right? They kind of go in that direction with the heavier kind of tone. Oh, there's something ominous rather coming, right? Every note to the right of middle C rises in vibration, feels lighter to us. And therefore, if we think about the concept of vibration for us, is where are we on that scale? Are we tipping to the left from middle C where we don't feel so good, so we have questions, or we have certain emotions that don't feel good to us, or do we feel better? So vibration for me is first and foremost the awareness of where we are.
Mm-hmm.
And there are many women that I know, and I work with some incredible women who do work in the mindset realm of identifying, okay, this is why you're stuck there, and unsticking them to get women moving. Vibration is important for us to be aware of, so that the first level is awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So when we have a level of awareness, how am I thinking? How am I feeling? What is the vibration of where I am? When we have a level of awareness, then we can begin to work with that. If we don't have a level of awareness of where we are living kind of in the waves that are moving all around us.
Mm-hmm.
So
or moving us around with them.
There we go, moving us around in the current, as it were. Yes, totally, right? So the importance of vibration is so that we can connect with, actually, here we go. I'm going to do a little bit more monk stuff on here. When we are aware consciously, when we bring our consciousness into the awareness of the vibration, which is how we're feeling,
Mm-hmm.
that awareness, to me, becomes the trigger for the next step, which for me is rising above it, which means rising into a state of being unconditional. So I'm not judging myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not judging others. I'm rising above how I've been feeling.
Right.
If I can't rise above, I can't become unconditional, and I can't begin to steer myself in the direction that I want. Or if I do, it becomes work.
Right. Because as you said earlier in our conversation, our focus determines our reality.
Yes, 100%.
So you're focused in the negative,
mm-hmm.
or whatever you believe is the condition, then that's going to be your reality.
It is.
And vice versa.
And this, to me, then links perfectly with the concept of law of attraction.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I take it on a slightly different, I see it with two perspectives. Law of attraction, 100%, yes. We've been talking about it, learning about it, watching about it for a long time. But when you're talking about the vibration here, to me, a concept which is foundational to law of attraction is what I call the law of alignment.
Mm.
So when we align at a lower level of vibration, which means how I'm thinking, how I'm feeling, which means down from middle C doesn't feel so good to us. When we align there with ourselves, then vibrationally we are aligning with other people who are there too, chances are. And then that's where the law of attraction can bring them in and have them showing up. Whereas if we align or are able first and foremost to become unconditional and then start transitioning into a higher level of alignment, we attract from there.
Mm. So in that sense, that's how it affects us in business.
100%.
Because what we're putting out, whether we know it or not, and that's the awareness, is what is coming back to us.
Yes. So any woman who is feeling, no, let me put it this way. Any woman who is not seeing two words that I love, the expansion, meaning more this way, and the evolution, more this way, of their business. Expansion in whatever way that means, or evolution in whatever way that means. Any woman who is not experiencing a level of expansion and evolution is potentially, another phrase that I like to use, bumping up against her own inner glass ceiling. So we've heard that term in business for many years, but I see it as an internal glass ceiling because we place limitations upon ourselves.
Right, exactly. So when you pursue your passion, you're not simply working to move forward, you're working from a deeper level. You're working to serve, I guess.
Yes. So I'm going to unravel that a little bit for me. So yes, we are in the energy of serving and of service. We can be in the energy of service from the head space or from the heart space.
Right.
We can be in the energy of service from all we believe we need to do, and we could be more supported with the energy of all we get to be, thinking from heart space and connected with our higher selves. So perhaps what that means is when we're following our passion, okay, here we go, this is kind of cool. When we're following our passion and yet it feels like work or hard work, it's our mindset, it's our heart set, it's where we are vibrationally that makes it feel that way.
Okay.
That's a bold statement, so I don't mean it to be a black and white 100% statement, but yet that's a reality that I've experienced.
No, because you're right. I mean, many of us are that's the summit is passion to profits, because many of us are pursuing our passion, but we're not feeling like, we're getting anywhere with it on a business level, not necessarily on a success level, because I see that in a different way, but monetization. And we're going to get into that a little later.
That's a whole
nother story, but we're going to touch on that because it is important. I mean, passion to profits. So in the beautiful video that we just saw, you mentioned that seeing is believing.
Yes.
Please expand on that. What exactly did you mean?
I love your question, and I love the timing of this question because it's going to kind of go back to where we started in the beginning of this call. So the seeing is believing to me is an opportunity for women. If you think about the phrase seeing is believing, so therefore what that means, or what that infers, what I infer from that, what it implies is if you can't see it, you can't believe it. And many will say, right, if you can't see it, you can't be it. So I've heard that before as well, right? If you can't see it, you can't be it. And I don't necessarily mean necessarily has to be tangible in front of you, see it, but it could also be have a vision of that.
Right, so sort of like the vision board concept.
True, but I would like to tap back into that one because I have a whole different take on that as well. Okay,
sure.
So the seeing is believing world for me is one in which now, so I'm going to refer to women in my masterminds and the women they work with, because that's the best way I can put context around this. So the women who are working right now with me are women of influence. They are already playing the game an octave or two up from middle C. And I know that because we never have conversation about what's not working. We never come to a gathering with any complaints or anything that doesn't feel good. We just come in the energy of that which is positive and connected. Their opportunity now, and my opportunity to support them now in the seeing is believing world is this: the women that they are working with, and some of these women are working with hundreds and thousands of women through extension of the groups and the programs that they're connected to and that they're developing on the planet. The women that they are working with need to see a woman standing in her power, speaking her truth, communicating and connecting from her heart, and holding that vibration consistently. Without questioning herself, without judging herself, without in any way even putting herself down. And actually, this is so cool, without limiting herself. So the women, two ripples out in the pond, the women who are now witnessing these women who are rising to such a level of their alignment have within them an experience to see in these women that they're holding in high self or in high esteem.
Mm-hmm.
They can now see in them, in the flicker of the embers of their heart, what resides within them and is possible for them. In the absence of a woman of influence stepping up and holding that powerful position
Mm-hmm.
in her heart, in compassion, in connection, in collaboration, in the absence of those women to see as the models,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes, there we go, going, it's all weaving together. It becomes hard work to think, well, how do I do that? Because I don't have anybody to, I don't have anyone to model after.
Mm.
So the seeing is believing world for me means that we, as individuals of influence, I don't like to use the word responsibility because it sounds kind of a heavy, but we have the opportunity for sure to be the ones that others can see as the ones holding that level consistently, so that those who see us can now see within themselves that potential and can hold us as the model for them, saying, I can do that too.
Yes, I can absolutely understand and see that.
Yeah.
Because they're holding the energy for them.
And very much like we said earlier, or you mentioned, it's helpful to have a visual reminder.
Right.
The words and the memes on Facebook, okay, they're good. They're on Instagram. They're good momentarily until they flash by and the next one comes up and then I'm in the car driving somewhere and I totally forget that when somebody cuts me off and I forgot that those words of Zen that I should have remembered, right?
Right, right.
But yet when we have a model that we can look up to, when we have someone we can hold in our heart and we know them vibrationally
Mm-hmm.
to be holding that position, that level of alignment,
Right.
that maybe, here's an interesting phrase, that becomes our lifeline.
Right, exactly.
If we don't yet believe in ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
but yet we can believe that they hold that position
Right.
of influence and they're holding firmly with great strength and heart and compassion, then they become a lifeline that we can hold on to so that we are drawn into that experience within ourselves.
Yes, I can see that.
Yeah.
And so in the absence of saying knowing or experiencing someone like that, do you believe that that's where mentors can play a big part in your life?
100%.
Okay.
That is one and the same. So, and
Okay.
interesting, I don't know if you've heard this term before. I'm part of eWomen Network. I'm a platinum member of eWomen. I've been platinum for maybe 8-9 years or so.
Okay.
And in eWomen Network, they have what they call the femtor, the female mentor.
Mm.
So yes,
Okay.
everything we've just talked about of a woman of influence being the one who is able to mentor those who are coming up and show them in the seeing is believing world that this is possible for you.
Right, right.
That's
So
exactly
it's
what it is.
really valuable if you can find a mentor to
Absolutely.
help
Absolutely.
you move forward. So, well, you talked about connecting with our deeper truths. And
Yes.
what does this mean and why is this important for women in business?
So deeper truth for me means communicating from our why. So actually, if we look at the head voice and heart voice,
Mm-hmm.
the deeper truth is speaking from heart voice.
Okay.
Now, when we're managing our business or our social media and all of that,
Mm-hmm.
and the content that we may be creating, it's not always maybe even appropriate to be coming from heart voice.
Mm-hmm.
But heart voice for me is the one that connects us with our audience.
Okay.
The head voice is the one that tells people what we do or what we want them to do.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then for ourselves, the head voice holds limits and judgment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when the concept of a deeper truth, and here's an example. So I've been with my partner for 32 years. If I say to my partner, who is a professional chef and makes amazing meals every evening,
Lucky you.
truly, truly, if you like, Vietnamese or Thai or Asian food, then come
I'm
over.
coming for dinner.
And actually, we live in Asia in Canadian winters, right? So
Yeah.
come over because we will cook for you because we're building restaurants and things too. Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But here's a concept. Here's the example of deeper truth. So if, or when, it's not an if, when I have a meal presented to me that is absolutely beautiful and absolutely delicious. If I'm coming from the, yeah, well, we've been together 32 years, so hey, you know, thank you, that was great. Or maybe not even a thank you sometimes, which really sucks. I would never do that. But sometimes it becomes so easy to kind of slip back into the routine and what's comfortable and known. So even though effort has gone into preparing a meal, sometimes we don't show the gratitude for it. And actually we don't talk about what it really means to us. So it might be, thank you, that was a great supper. Thank you. Right? It's like when kids, thanks mom, thanks dad, boom, gone, right? The deeper truth is this kind of a statement. The deeper truth would be holding your loved one, looking them in the eye and saying, thank you. Oh, it gets me emotional, man. Thank you for creating this incredible meal for us. I so appreciate you. I so love that we are sharing this together. And I thank you from the depths of my heart. You don't have to use those languages. You don't have to get all kind of soppy and emotional with it. But a deeper truth is a deeper form of communicating gratitude or communicating connection.
Exactly.
Rather than just a thank you.
Yes, I completely. And which you say draws us forward when you're communicating through your heart voice.
It does.
Yeah. Okay. So I get that. That's beautiful. So can you give me an example? Well, I think you might just have done that with head voice and heart voice, specifically for women in business. So when you're applying it to the business realm, what would that look like?
I'll give you a very good example and then a short story. Not a long story, but a short story.
Sure.
So the very good example is your video on your website talking about the summit. When I watched you in that video, you are speaking from heart voice. You are speaking about why this is important to you, why you're reaching out, why you want to help women, why you want to connect with women, why you are in support of women, and what this summit is all about. So your video is brilliantly scripted in heart voice.
Thank you.
It was amazing. I was so touched when I watched it. An example would be in one of my mastermind groups, there's a woman and she's highly, highly empathic. She wasn't comfortable perhaps, or able to find the words to communicate what she does as a woman who is highly empathic and is a coach for other women. So I was explaining in that call, head voice and heart voice, kind of looking at music and song and vocals as well, but the head voice and the chest voice, this is head and heart, I'm calling it. So I gave her an example of her bio, which could be a bio on a website. It could be a bio on LinkedIn, but a bio as a video, not necessarily written, but a video bio, a spoken bio.
Right.
And I spoke her, because I know her well. This was a 7-month mastermind. I know her well. So I knew exactly how to approach this. So I spoke, first of all, from the head voice, and it was like I was reading her bio. This is what she's done. This is how she helps women. This is what she does.
Right.
And all of the women on the call, all the screens were there, and everyone just kind of went, yeah, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, let me transition into heart voice. So I took a breath, and I got into heart voice, and I spoke what I know to be her truth. I'm not saying in any way I'm speaking her truth for her, but I was giving her an example of what her bio video, again, on her website or LinkedIn, for example, would sound like. And I told her story from heart voice. And every woman on that call was in tears when I finished.
Wow.
Not because of me, but because they could feel the essence of how she was working with women and helping them. And that's the phrase, I don't know if we've even talked about it yet, but the communicate to connect concept.
Yes.
That's what that is.
Yeah. Yeah. We haven't gotten there yet, but yes,
Okay.
Absolutely.
Then it's coming.
Coming from the heart, and that's where the authenticity lives. But yes, absolutely. It completely makes sense to communicate from our hearts, because that's where we're not just vulnerable, but that's our humanity, you know.
Exactly. Yes, that is exactly it.
Yes. Options for messaging. So messaging, speaking of, because we're segueing perfectly into it, is the first pillar of your work, which I love, David, because you are a master communicator. Everything you do with such joy and heart space. For sure.
I live in heart space. I'm very fortunate.
You do. No, you're so genuine. So the first pillar of your work that you described in your bio was, why is this the core of our businesses, or you feel that the communication to connect is so vital in everything that we do? It's not really necessarily business, but in life, I think too.
It is. So if we think about women in business, and this could also be thinking of the women who are part of this summit and women who will be watching this summit. There may be some women who are in transition from careers or positions or jobs that now they've realized, I don't want to go back to that, right?
Yeah.
So this may be women like yourself who have a business. This may be for women who are in that transition time. For all women, and this is why the messaging is so important. If women, okay, there's 3 levels I can talk about here. If women speak about, I'm going to put it in the context of women who are coaches. Let's just put that just for now. So women who are coaches who speak, there are 3 levels I'm going to refer to. The top level is the features. So women who speak from, here's the features, meaning here's what I do, kind of head voice, right?
Right.
The next level down, which is pretty comfortable for most women to get into, is here are the benefits of working with me, for example, right? Here's the benefits. There's a 3rd level, which is, it's sometimes difficult to differentiate between the 2nd level of benefits and the 3rd level, which is value. Here's the value of this for you. And when we speak of the value, the transition becomes, features is all about us. The benefits is the in-between state, but the value is all about the audience. So when we learn the importance of communicating from the perspective and our messaging, and again, the messaging could be like us now on video, it could be on text, wherever text shows up on our websites or our funnels, if you want to look at it that way, in any marketing or content that we create. It can also be in the audio, like just in a podcast version. So we have audio, video, and text. When we are able to communicate from the benefits down into the value perspective of what we're offering, everything changes. Because then, for example, I can give you a good example. So I was working with a group of women in preparation for an event. There were 20 women all being prepped to be part of a great event. They were going to be on stages and each had breakout rooms and all of that. We were looking at their websites. We were assessing the website. We were assessing the content of their messaging. And so I did something kind of tricky. I took each website, I took screen captures of each website, and I took off the branding. Like I took off their logos. I took off the logo, took off the branding. As logo, not as the colors and the scheme, just the logos.
Sure.
And then I looked at all of the languaging. And it was a little bit shocking to realize that 20 women in preparation for an event who actually do have a uniqueness to each of them were only communicating so that if I took off the branding, they all said the same thing.
Whoa.
We're going to help you in relationships. Your relationship will be better. Your health will be better. You're going to be happier, and on and on and on. And I said, it was kind of a big realization for everyone. It's like, okay, 20 women, if I take off that which is telling me who you are,
right.
In the messaging, it was identical. So this taps into the blue ocean, red ocean strategy of, do we all sound the same? Are we all after the same thing? Or how do we stand out?
Yeah, and that's the difficult, I think, very difficult for most of us. In fact, that's where I find many individuals come to me because they just really can't even unravel. And when they do, it's like you said, it sounds the same.
Yes. And we do have to recognize though too, and make a point here that for many women, it is their personality. It is who they are, which is a differentiator right there. But still, we need to be able to communicate at a level so the messaging more accurately reflects the value of what we're offering and what makes us unique.
So how do we do that? How do we make it unique? I mean, is that a whole nother seminar? Is that a whole nother hour? Can you give us like maybe 3 steps?
Yes.
Okay.
So actually so when we think about how do we shift into the blue ocean strategy, meaning red ocean being blood in the water because we're all competing after the same thing, right? So when there's a lot of competition, we all do the same thing. The messaging looks the same. How do people determine or decide who to go with, right? If they're looking for a coach or they're looking for a mentor, looking for
I
someone
understand
right?
completely.
Okay. So the blue ocean, meaning there is no competition because we're standing alone, because we're not doing things the way other people are doing those things, right? It might not mean that our coaching practice necessarily, or whatever the programs are exponentially different from anybody else's, but how we engage with our community, how we offer opportunities to connect with the community. So it's not just, hey, come here, sign up for this and do this. There's actual relationship being built. When we investigate and discover ways that we can actually communicate to create connection with women. Sorry, my ear thing keeps coming out here.
That's okay.
When we understand how we can communicate to connect with women in ways which are unique to us, that too is a differentiator.
So we have to unpack that. Go through it.
That's a whole another hour, yeah, or weekend, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So how can we then make sure that our audience feels heard and seen by us? Because I mentioned that, and that is something that at the beginning is part of the whole method of communication, you said.
Yes. So the heard and seen part, now this actually is a perfect transition from the concept of speaking from what we value or speaking from what our audience values. So I'm going to give you an example, and if I may, I'm going to use this summit as an example.
Okay.
So using this summit as an example, and now we could take it in the realm of putting out memes. We could be doing like a Facebook post with a little bit more content than just a meme, for example, right? So I'm going to give you 4 examples of messages that communicate differently.
Okay.
So the first example, so let's say, and I'm thinking of women that I know, and how what they would connect with and resonate with if they heard this coming to your summit and were attracted to your summit.
Okay.
So one woman I'm holding in mind right now, actually she's an eWomen Network director, which is pretty cool. And for her, she needs to see in your communicating of your why join this summit, she needs to see your timetable. She needs to see when the calls are being broadcast. She needs to see the speakers, and she needs, through seeing this information, she is gaining a sense of predictability. So therefore she can sort of plan, okay, on Tuesday next week, I want to watch this one, and Wednesday too. Oh, okay. And then Friday, I can't miss that one. Okay. So with a certain amount of messaging, which shows her that there's organization to all of this, she can begin to plan things around that, and she likes that.
Okay.
Now, the second woman that I know, she's a business coach. She's an incredible sales woman in the realm of sales. She is a jump in, get going, move fast kind of woman. She doesn't want to plan anything. She gives ideas to people, to her team, and says, okay, this is what we're doing, go do it and make it happen, and then come back to me when it's already happened, sort of thing. Okay. She doesn't like the planning part there. She doesn't like the organizational part there. She doesn't want to do that. That's not her thing. She's masterful at getting things to happen, but not in the planning stages to make them happen per se, right? So for this woman, if she were to get the messaging from you that was all about, okay, here's kind of the process of how it all comes together, she would be bored. She doesn't care.
Oh, right.
She wants to say, okay, what's in it for me right now?
Right. She wouldn't even read through all the information.
She wouldn't. She would pass by it. So imagine if you're doing Facebook posts, for example, and you put out 4 posts and they're each slightly different in the messaging. The one that would attract her is, hey, jump in on this day. Here's what you're going to get, for example, right? So she wants that. Now, there's another woman that I know, and she's actually spoken at the United Nations, which is pretty amazing. She is kind of she is a woman who loves everybody, hugs everybody, and wants to make everybody feel safe. She wants everybody to feel part of a community. She wants everybody to feel like they belong. She wants everybody to be happy. She wants everybody to know that they are valued. So she's very much a heart-centered woman. For her, having the systems in place and the lineup doesn't really matter for her. Taking action doesn't matter for her. She wants to know. No, she doesn't want to. She needs to know that this summit is going to offer her the opportunity to connect with women, to learn about herself in ways that she can share with others, to make a difference in the lives of others. That's her why.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to be able to communicate and message that way for her, right?
Okay.
Then the other woman that I know, and actually I won't mention her name, but you know her too. She is a woman for whom the information behind who these experts are, like what did you do and what is your research and what are your degrees and what do you know, that's really important to her.
Mm-hmm.
Because she values expertise.
Okay.
So she needs to see certain posts, for example, that are reflecting of, we have these women who have this experience and this expertise, and they're going to be sharing with you because she, like a sponge, wants to absorb all the expertise and the knowledge and the information from them.
Right.
So
right.
she's looking for something slightly different, but we can see in the four of them, the person who wants to know, hey, what's predictable here? What's moving forward? The one who says, I don't care, just get me in. The woman who says, how are we making a difference with one another and building community and relationships? And the woman who says, I want to know what you know.
Right.
Four slightly different variations on how we can message to the audience of what they value, so that the one who sees the message is like, oh, that connects with me. That's my deal maker. I'm in.
Right.
Very different.
Yeah, what I'm hearing you say though is then when you're putting out those kinds of communications, saying marketing a particular event, such as the summit,
yep,
you need to speak to all those different personalities or individuals.
We do, and let's play with this for a second here, because actually, there's a lot of complexity to what's possible, and it's very exciting for me. So we can blend a couple together. We don't have to just have one like this, one like this, one like this, one like this. We can blend the messaging together, and actually in one or two sentences, we could put them all together.
Ah.
Right? So it doesn't have to be just this A or B or C or D. It could be an A-B thing or an A and D thing, or it could be a little bit of it all together. But the important thing here is that the audience that you want to connect with is feeling their connection with you through what they value. Right.
And putting it in one sentence requires quite a bit of practice, I'm assuming.
There's a little bit of wordsmithing. Yes. And it's amazing, because sometimes, man, we've done wordsmithing for webinars, for example, wordsmithing for presentations, and just one shift in a word changes everything. It's like,
oh yeah,
it's remarkable.
Yeah, no, it really is remarkable. I appreciate words.
You understand that, yes.
Yes, I definitely do. Because I hear words that people say and they don't even realize they're saying it, but then the light bulb will go on and I'm going, that's what you're all about. And they're going, I said that? And I said, yeah, you did. But yes, I understand words are very powerful, but yes, I could see where that would be a benefit.
Well, you also know then, with the work that you do with women, the challenge that it can be to find those right words on our own.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, it's huge. I mean, that's probably why many do hire outside individuals, and why there are courses on content copying and content writing and marketing and all of that, because obviously it is a skill or an art. For me, it's more of an art.
I would agree with you on that one,
because that's how I see words. But in that was great. Thank you so much for breaking that down. Because yes, we always tend to be more linear in our thinking when it comes to communication, because we communicate the way we believe that people are going to see it. But we're only one demographic or one version of those individuals that you spoke of. Whereas you're right, when you're putting it out there to a broad audience, it's right across the spectrum. That's what we often forget.
It is, but can I speak to that just for a moment? Because there's a really important aspect to add to this. So I was working with a group of women in Australia about a year ago. And we were talking about different ways of messaging for them. And one woman said, I don't want to work with those people who are so in the box thinkers that they make me crazy, right? They need the plan, they need the book, they need to check things off. She said, it just makes me cry. I don't want to work with them. And I said to her, actually, one element, if you have the luxury of turning away a potential client good. Because if you don't, well, we'll message to them and we got to just make sure that you're more comfortable communicating and working with them. But if you do have the luxury of turning away a client that you already know through, you just know it doesn't feel right for whatever reason, don't message to them in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put anything out there that comes across that way. Right. And therefore we are being proactive, because the person who is looking for that wouldn't see that, and most probably wouldn't even connect with her in the first place.
Exactly. And therein lies the word connect.
Yes.
They won't connect with it.
So it's so, like you said, okay, there's so many ways to connect, but I think that it's valuable, especially for those of us on the telesummit here, not telesummit, on the summit now, pardon me for that one, but on the summit, to be aware of the fact that we actually have the opportunity to message in ways that are most in alignment with us.